So welcome everybody. Today is October 30th. It's the Konflux plus Fedora SIG. Do you guys want to do introductions? Like, I think we all know each other, but you could talk about why you're here. Julie and I introduced ourselves last time. Gal and Yindrik, you're new to the group today. Do you want to say a word about yourself and why you're here?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Gal. I was a part of the team that bootstrapped the Fedora Konflux instance, and then part of the Konflux infrastructure team. And so I'm here to assist with the infrastructure-related issues, the deployment of Konflux, and managing and administrating Konflux.
That's awesome. Thank you. Morning, Pavel. We're just doing introductions, going around for new people. Yindrik's next, and then Pavel, I'll call on you. Say who you are and why you're here.
Go on. Yeah, so I'm Yindrik. I'm Closed Tech Lead. I guess I'm here because I was involved in implementing signing for Red Hat pipeline in Konflux. And outside of Konflux, I'm kind of also expert for classical signing. Not sure if I use any expertise here on that part, but yeah, I guess that's the reason. Fair enough, Pavel.
Cool, thanks, Yindrik.
Okay, I'm engineer at Red Hat for a few years. I've been package maintainer, then I moved to developing some build system-oriented stuff, namely mock tool for building RPMs and Fedora Copper. I also DevOps the thing, and I kind of tech lead / team lead to the few people there. Yeah, for the past few months, I've spent on hacking the RPM build pipeline for Konflux. That's me. Who's next? Sorry, I missed the show.
Awesome. Thanks. We can introduce everybody else who hasn't gone yet was here last time and did introductions then. So maybe we can skip, but I don't know if you know us or not. It's just polite. I don't know. I'm Ralph. I work on Konflux with Gal and Julia and Yindra. And I was a Fedora package maintainer years ago in my first job at Red Hat and really, really liked it. So I'm passionate about Fedora. I'm passionate about Konflux and what it can provide for Red Hat and for others. So I'm excited to see these two things come together here. That's why I'm here. Julia, do you mind going? And then Andre, you'll go, and we'll move on to agenda items.
Yeah, sure. So very briefly, my name is Julia. I work at Red Hat, as all of you, and I'm responsible for MintMaker in the internal Red Hat Konflux. So I would like to help with the MintMaker instance in Fedora because I'm very passionate about open source.
Thanks, Julia. Andre?
Hi, I am manager on images and repositories, so I'm part of Image Builder team, and I'm here to follow what's happening because we would love to use Konflux and integrate with Konflux. So I'm very excited about it being deployed in Fedora.
Thanks, Andre. Lucas, you want to go?
Hey, I just saw this meeting in my calendar, and I thought like I would join, but I think it goes from Andre. I'm from the same team as Andre, Images Repositories, and yeah, I'm thrilled to do anything with Fedora. Yeah.
Great, thanks. I was just catching notes. If you want to change any of the text, I'll put the agenda in sidebar again for people who just joined. And let's see. There we go. Shared. Last time we talked about a couple things I've got in the agenda. We just run through them and see where we're at on them. The first was on providing access to the repos that configure the setup for Konflux. They were private before, and we made them public. So if I share screen, Is this viewable? Yes, it is. So under gitlab.com Fedora infrastructure/Konflux, there are 2 repos here that are made public. One is infra deployments, which is really similar to the Ansible repo that the Fedora infrastructure team uses. It defines and controls the deployment for the complex instance, more or less entirely. It doesn't use Ansible, it uses Argo CD for that. So if you want to look into that and understand how it works, go and Google about Argo CD and how it takes the contents of the Git repo and will apply it to the cluster where Konflux is running. And the second repo is probably more useful for more people. It's called tenants config. And it is also an Argo-driven repo, but it's a place where individual users of the Konflux instance can come and submit configurations for their workspaces in a GitOps config for Argo to pick up and move. So instead of using the Konflux UI, for instance, to configure all of your resources, you can come to this repo and put that all in YAML in a GitOps repo, and it'll manage it in a way where you can send merge requests against your own configuration. It's also the way right now where there's still a limitation in the Fedora Konflux instance where we can't use the RBAC interface, the user access part of the UI. If I have my own Ralph workspace, I can't grant Gal access to come and join and get view in my workspace just due to changes we need to make in the way it will work with FATs. But the workaround for now is to come to the tenants config repo. I can submit a merge request that gives Gal rights to view things in my workspace. And so I expect we'll be using that for a while until we have that working again in the UI. That's it about that. Any questions about these repos? If not, it's just an FYI. If not, we'll move on. What's our next point on the agenda here? Is seeing if we can provide Mint Maker in Fedora to update the infrastructure repo. Julia, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, so I worked on this PR. You can find the link there. So this is about creating a new component, application, and tenant. Oh, I see it was merged. Okay. I was actually not sure about it because I had some questions that I placed in the notes. So one is about the release plan. So I saw that other components also have the definition for the release plan, but I wasn't sure what to put there, so I didn't put it. Should I move on to the others, or should we talk about this?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I can just explain why we don't need a release plan. So in the info deployments repository, we don't actually build anything, but we still want to use the Mint Maker capabilities to maintain to keep the manifests up to date. So what we do is we onboard a fake component. We don't really need to release this fake component, and from there, Mint Maker will be aware of that repository and will start the processing. So that's the idea.
Okay. Yeah, for context for everybody, I think we should mention that Mint Maker can operate if the component is created in Konflux, but as long as there is a secret that allows Mint Maker to file MRs or PRs, it will work. It doesn't have to actually perform a build, or you don't have to merge the initial MR that Konflux proposed. So yeah, I think that's very good. But this leads to the other question that I had, which is about the secret. I couldn't find any, how do I configure the secret in GitLab to allow Mint Maker to file PRs? Because it's not here in my PR.
Yes. So for that, we would need to create a token in the infra deployments repository, and then upload the token to this new namespace that you've just created. So in this PR, you have the ns.yaml manifest. Now Argo is going to create a namespace, and in that namespace, we will upload the GitLab token.
And just to be clear, Gal, you mean we're going to upload that manually using kubectl to the namespace on the cluster? It's not going to go into the Git repository.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, but this leads me to my other question, which was, how do I connect to the cluster in Fedora for Konflux? I don't think I have any like link or like
Yeah. So
permission there. Yeah.
yeah. So let's share the link. Share the link so everyone will have it. Second. Let's continue. I'll share the link in chat.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're digging it up, right?
Yeah, let me. I find the link because it's a new laptop. So
Anyhow, once we have the information, like you can also put it in the notes, and I can fix this for next time. And I think this will allow us to have MintMaker running. This will fix the issues that we discussed last time.
Cool. I found a link down. What about the original gist with all the connection details? I think that'll get you close to getting the cluster URL. It'll have a URL to the Konflux UI that's running on that cluster. But if you like mess around with the URL, you can get the OpenShift API URL out of that. We should update the README for tenants config and for deployments with that link, so it's obvious when you're making changes there how you get there.
I'll take the action item. I can do it.
Awesome. Thank you, Gal. For everybody else, the end effect of this, once this is working, is that Fedora Konflux instance has not been updated in 2 months. Gal set it up for Flock, and we demoed it Flock, and then it's been sitting without receiving new updates. The end effect of this is that it'll start upgrading itself every time we merge code in Konflux upstream. And we'll see how that goes. If that's too fast, maybe we'll slow it down, but this will automate that. Julia, anything else on that point? Any other questions or comments?
No, I think that's it.
Good. Thank you for working on it. It's gonna be awesome when it's going. Lukash, we had another point from last time about reaching out to the Konflux UI contributors. Did you have a chance to connect with them? I'm sorry, not Lukash, Andra, my bad.
I've reached out in the channel, but there was not much response. They asked what Fedora UI, so they were really not aware of it, and I shared the link, and they looked into it but didn't follow up. So yeah, I probably need to ping them and maybe set up a sync up in to see what they are thinking. But Gal, you set it up. You set up the UI, right? Did you talk to anyone throughout it, or did anyone take it over? Does anyone else knows what's happening there?
What do you mean exactly?
Fedora Konflux UI.
Yes.
That's there now. It's your work, right? If I understood it correctly.
I deployed it. I didn't develop the UI itself.
It might help Andra to know why you're interested in the Konflux UI for Fedora.
Of course. So we are thinking about doing something similar for Image Builder, having a Fedora Image Builder, and it's a hosted service on console as well. So it would use the same chroming, same everything. All the infrastructure would be the same for Image Builder, and we thought it would be nice to join forces and use the same UI, maybe even same URL for it. Either share the deploy mechanisms or just join it completely and have it live next to each other.
The Konflux UI is true that the Konflux UI for the Fedora instance, it doesn't run on console. It runs, there is an instance of it that runs directly on the cluster. So
That's exactly what we would like for Image Builder as well. We would like to run separate service for Fedora, but we need the chroming and all and integration with Fedora SSO.
let's see. The way that it was a temporary solution for us, but the way that the UI is currently set up with some version of Chrome alongside of it, this is just like a temporary solution. Today in the UI, if you try to click on all of the buttons that you see, especially in the toolbars, you'll see that some of them doesn't work because we don't deploy an entire console infrastructure. What we do today, we work on completing the work to make the UI completely standalone. So it would be just like a React application that doesn't rely on any console infrastructure or Chrome. It won't be a console plugin. So I wouldn't recommend taking Image Builder and try to run it the same way that we do today in Konflux, because as I said, it's just temporary. About questions about this?
Thank you. I knew that this was temporary, but I thought we will figure out some way to run chroming and Konflux inside of it. But if you have plans for standalone UI, then it probably doesn't make sense to chase it together. But thanks for the context. That helped.
About authentication, going forward, the way that it will work, we will use auth2 proxy. The backend will handle the authentication. Today, because we use this weird version of the UI that has parts of Chrome in it, we still have client-side authentication, but it is going away. We moved authentication to the backend, much more simpler. I can go over it with you if it may help. If you want to do something similar.
Yeah, if you would have 10-15 minutes to explain how you set it up, so I can take it further for Image Builder, that would really help. I will reach out.
Sure.
There's something to be said about, in Andre's question, there's a vision lurking there about running a unified interface for services in Fedora. Today, Fedora's infrastructure, you engage with dist-git and Pagure and Koji and Bodhi and everything else all in these separate URLs. You have to have them all bookmarked and know how to get around. It's just like the experience inside Red Hat today, which is very fragmented. With Console and with Konflux, we want to unify that. If there's an opportunity to run an image builder service on the same cluster or through the same UI, maybe it doesn't have to be the same API endpoints, but if that could be presented to Fedora packagers in a unified way, I think that could be an improvement. Even though it seems that what you're saying, Gal, that like our ships are moving in opposite directions right now, so it's not going to be free or like a technical free. It's we're thinking about if we can make that happen for Fedora.
I think that maybe not a unified UI, but maybe something like a backstage that at least will show all the components that are built for Fedora. And then we link you to Konflux, Image Builder, the Git repositories, the document, just like some kind of an index that you can start with, and from there reach to the to all of the systems, and like to the direct page in different systems for the specific components you are interested in.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, thanks. Andre, anything else on that topic? We're good.
Yep. Thanks for all the context.
Yeah, of course. I'm looking at time. It's 8:22 my local time, meaning we only have 8 minutes left for scheduled time, and I've got like 5 bullets for new business items. I feel like we're not going to get through them all. So how should we do that? You want to just go and get through as many as we can? We commit to taking them up async.
Let's try to let's start go over them, and but we don't complete. Let's do it as async.
Cool. The first one is meeting time. So Kevin Fenzi wants to come, but he's on the West Coast US, and this is way too early. It's like 5 a.m. for his time. He because he loves us, but he can't get up that early. We should move the meeting time. Is that we should just deal with the details of offline? Is anybody? I guess is this like the best meeting time for somebody? Thumbs up from Pavel. Any objections to changing?
Sorry,
I
I meant like feel free to change the time.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
I wanted to say that I personally like this time. Probably I wouldn't join if we have it like a lot later. But maybe we can think about having like 1 week, one time in the next around. I'm not sure if this is bi-weekly or weekly. Maybe we can have it in the other time, like later.
Bi-weekly right now, but we certainly could alternate.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Andre. Maybe I'll send out a poll with some preferences. Do you want to move from a half an hour to an hour? Do you want to move to every week? And then what times are good? And we'll get everybody on this call plus Kevin, and we'll see what the results come out of that. I'll take the action on that. Is that cool? Cool. I'll do it. Does anybody have any suggestions for how to make our notes open to the world? The Google Doc notes associated with this right now is associated with my Red Hat account, which was just easy to set up. But for others who want to be able to browse it, they have to request access, which is like some friction we don't necessarily want. Is anybody in another community that has a good way to do that, an easy, free way to do that?
I always do it under my own personal account when I want to publish it. So not a good idea. Maybe I'm not sure.
Yeah. Also seems fine. It'll just be associated with me. So if I wander off and go do other things someday, we'll have to make sure the doc, transfers ownership.
No.
Worst comes to worst, you just make a new doc, I guess. Yeah. Okay. I'll give that a try. And then these other two, I think this one, there's this release service issue. Think about our users, like people who are interested in using Fedora Konflux cluster. LSM5, Lokesh, was interested in using it for a container he was working on, but he was blocked because we're not updating the cluster. He needs to use a new release service feature that isn't in our 2-month-old version. So I think, Julia, once we make progress on your project, then we'll be able to come back to that one. But for now, I think it's stuck waiting on that. If we could gal this one, I'm moving right along. The Konflux CI issues one, put the link in sidebar. This is a question I think for you. When you authenticate with the Fedora instance right now, it takes your email that's associated with your FAS ID and uses that as your login. So for me, my FAS ID is I'm Ralph, but I'm associated with rbean at Red Hat. My Konflux username is rbean at Red Hat. And I'm pretty sure all Fedora users would prefer it if their FAS ID was their identity. It's like how they know each other, how they refer to each other, not by email.
It is possible to change it. I'll explain why it was configured like that. So in Kubernetes, you can give permissions. You don't have any representation of the users on the cluster. You don't have a resource that represents the. In OpenShift you have, but it's being created dynamically. You can give permissions to users that never logged in. So today I can give permission to someone that never logged in. So let's say that we are using usernames, and I'm giving permission to someone, but that someone didn't register too fast yet. And someone else caught that username. then he or she will gain those permissions. And we didn't intend to give it to them. While when using email addresses, you can verify that like the person is like the actual person that registered. That was the reason. Maybe it's something that won't really happen, and we can just.
Can I try to say the danger back? Is the danger that I would grant access to somebody called G. Benheim, assuming that your FAS ID already existed, but then Pavel could come along and register himself as G. Benheim in FAS and come in and absorb those rights?
Yes.
That's the danger if I typoed any RBAC, if I accidentally invited G. Benheim to, somebody noticed and then stole that username. I don't know.
Yes. That's the thing. And with emails, you need to own an email address, because we verify that the email address, like when you log into the cluster, there is a verification that the email was verified by the identity provider.
How is it any different if I were to make a typo and I accidentally invited to my workspace gbenheim2 at gmail.com? Pavel could go and steal gbenheim2 at gmail.com, and
if the email doesn't if the email address does not exist yet, like when you register, maybe it's the same, because when you register, you can create. The thing is that, like, if I already have an email address, okay, that I'm using, and you want to register to FAS today, you can't use my email address. You can use my username. You can use G. Ben Chaim, because you can choose whatever username you want if it's not caught yet. But you can't use my email address, because when you try to sign up, it will send me an email that I need to verify the sign up.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
So the danger is for people who don't yet have FAS accounts.
Yes.
If you try to invite them, but they don't exist in FAS. And I don't know. It feels like a real weird edge case to me. Like the people who would really be using the system. This is like security fallacy. Like I think like, oh, people won't do that, and then of course someday they'll do it and it'll bite us in the butt. But like, yeah, really, the people will already have FAS accounts. I think if they're in this world and granting RBAC to each other.
Yeah, sure. I don't mind changing it.
Actually, having a FAS account implies some legal confirmations, or how it's called, the contribution license. So I'm curious whether we want to allow anyone else than FAS account holders to join to this instance.
Yeah.
Actually, there are two phases. I mean, it's several. I mean, there are several layers of contribution. I'm not sure how to explain it. You can just register to FAS, but it's typically not enough to open or create a Fedora content. You need to sign the contribution license, or how it's called, something like that. And then you know from the OpenID or OpenID Connect provider what level of contributor that particular person is. So I'm curious whether we want to allow anyone else than those who already signed the contributor license. It's
If I remember in FAS, that contributor agreement is modeled as a group, and so if it's the FPCA, I think, Fedora Project Contributor Agreement.
Yeah. Sorry, that's it.
So then we would need to. I mean, there's this question about what does your username become on the system, which is independent. Like we could model the users as your FAS username or as your email on it, but we do want to only allow FAS authentication first off, which will get you halfway there, and then we also want to limit that to people who've signed the FPCA, which we don't have that in place yet either. But I think we do have it limited only to FAS authentication. Like you can't authenticate if you're not in FAS period yet.
Yes, that's correct. You must have a FAS account. technically we can change the way that we manage users. We can use just like the preferred username from the token and not the email address. It's fine. It's just a matter of configurations.
Okay. Let's do that. I guess we can proceed slowly and think about it and make sure there's not some other angle we're not thinking of, but I think that people would really recognize it more. We lost everybody at 8:32. The last point on there was about Jason Brooks. He pinged me last night asking about Fedora boot C stuff, another user, but I feel like there's nothing to say about it because I need more information from Jason anyways. It's just FYI.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys all have to go right now?
I need to move to another one.
Okay. See you again.
Bye-bye.
Bye. How could Julia, Lukasz, do you have any recommendations on how to run this differently? Maybe it'll all just come out in the forum, but I feel like we at least need more time, or we need to talk about less stuff. One of the two, because we filled.
Maybe this is just started, so there's a lot of people that want to collaborate and don't really know what this is about. So maybe this will get better with time, but also at the moment it's bi-weekly. Maybe having it weekly will give us more time to discuss about stuff. So 30 minutes maybe it's enough, but it can be weekly. So yeah.
I don't have a preference. I just want to be in the picture here to see what is happening. So yeah, I will follow what you guys choose.
Sounds good. I was thinking about during the meeting, Pavel Ryska does all this really cool work on the RPM build pipelines. Like we didn't even have a way for that to come up in conversation. So I want to think about that for next time, how to either help him seed something on the agenda, or maybe he doesn't want to talk about it. I feel like it'd be interesting for everybody.
Yeah, maybe just move whatever we didn't discuss about today to the next agenda.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're interested in something specifically, you can just ask. I think everyone here is very willing to answer. Yeah. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here, right?
Yeah, right on. Okay, thanks, guys. I'm gonna end recording, and I'll send out that survey for stuff after the meeting. There's the button.